What's up, everybody? Arrg the Pirate here, and today I'm going to be playing a little Zinx in the offlane. As always, let's go over the deck. Now I have Healing Towers, Mana Reactor, Damage Return, Auto Shield, Deadly Mana, and lastly Mana Fountain for my gems. Now for my cards, I have Coin Master, Cull the Weak, Exoskeleton, Flame of Zetchin, Green Spring, Possessed Sprykin, Invader Mage, Growth Totem, Vital Waters, Vengeful Mare, Nameless Curse, and lastly Withering Shadow. Now this is another 5-stack game with, me and my subs, and we just had an absolute blast. And, we try to do these as often as we want, if we've got everything set up right and, we've got enough people on and things like that. But every Sunday at 2 p.m. Central, we try to make time to do these private matches because they're an absolute blast and they really do help you learn things like that. And, we can always critique everything at the end of them. So if you want to join, jump in Discord, guys. So this is probably my 5th or 6th game with Zinx, and I've tried several different decks out to see if I could actually make something, make a deck that was a little bit better for her, but I never found one. Before I get into that, I actually use her stun here, and I kind of like to talk about it. See, I'm going to hit the minion with the stun. That actually keeps their Murdoch under tower. He doesn't take any tower damage, but it'd have been nice to get that poke. But you can see it's much easier to hit the minions because minions stand still than it is to hit the heroes, and that ricochet bounces off of the minions, and then if it ever does hit the hero, they're stunned for longer. Just kind of want to throw that out there since that was a good example. But, I've tried Intellect Zinx, I've tried, I did Intellect Death Zinx, I did Intellect Growth Zinx, I even did a Chaos build, just for the fun of it, but, nothing really works. It's growth and death. You have great sustain, and you've got these cards that are designed to kill people, and that's what Zinx really needs. She needs a way to kill people, and she just doesn't really have a way to kill people in her deck. So, using a card like Withering Shadow is absolutely amazing on her. It really cranks her ability to wave clear, as well as if you have some sort of life sustain, like Possessed Sprykin, you can pretty much leave that card on always. And, if you're full health, full mana, you're never going to dip below full health, full mana, until you start taking some extra damage, or, using extra mana. But that's really the only card that I've found that worked very, very well. I did try to use the Servrock's Initiate, the Deathlink card, and it's just not worth. You take way too much damage, and Zinx is not the just tankiest hero once she's out of mana. She doesn't have like a huge health pool or anything. So using that card, it just absolutely zaps your mana, so you don't have anything, you can't use any abilities, so you can't really do any extra damage other than that link. And that link, it takes so long to actually, kill somebody that if you're not also doing damage, they're eventually going to kill you. Like if you hook up against an ADC or something like that, that ADC is just gonna shoot you until you're dead because, yeah, your mana just gets zapped. So this is really the best deck I've found. Like I said, I've tried a handful, and this is it, guys. Now, of course, y'all saw as I was, rambling, we actually had a rotation. We were able to take out that Murdoch. That was a great play. That was a great gank on that, on our jungler's side. And that really creates fear between Decker and their Murdoch. Now, just to kind of talk about what's been happening so far, if you've noticed, Decker has not really been zoning me out. And this has allowed me to get fed. I'm now level 5, which, they're pretty high in level. But now that I'm level 5, I can really, push back. And once the offlaner hits level 5, you've kind of lost the opportunity to zone them out. By zoning an enemy out, what you do is you want to stand almost in between the minion wave and the enemy. So if they try to get close to the enemy, you'll be able to poke them. And Decker's pretty solid at being able to poke people. She's got some decent range. She's got a great stun. That slow actually does a ton of damage now. Of course, people are just going to run out of it. But, you can use that as a zoning tool. You throw the bubble up. They're not going to run towards you. They're going to run away from you. So she's got a great kit to zone people out. And, it's a little too late to zone me out now. But that's definitely something that, really all supports can work on, is trying to zone that offlaner out to keep us from getting to level 5. Because, again, the whole point of an offlaner is their kit is very strong at level 5, and your job is to try to keep me as much as you can from getting to level 5. So you should really work on freezing the lane as well as zoning me out when the lane is pushed. Now, coming up is one of the reasons I just don't really care for Zinx. Now, if you see here, I'm actually going to go in on this Decker. Now, I stun her, hit her with 2, that's my 3rd Kitty Claw, my 4th Kitty Claw. I get a basic attack and then a 5th Kitty Claw. So, 5 Kitty Claws, so in total, 6 abilities and 1 basic attack, which, her basic attacks are considered ability. But, besides that, I hit her with 6 abilities, a single basic attack, and a stun. And she was already at, she was already down like a quarter of 5th health. So she wasn't even fully healed. And I used, almost my entire mana bar and wasn't able to take her down. And I even stunned her. That's really where I just kind of find an issue with Zinx. I think she takes entirely too much to get the kill, even though she's very hard to kill. You can play her very offensively and die very easy, or you can play her the opposite, where you're not as offensive, but you cannot be killed. But at the same time, in a team fight, let's say you're in a team fight, Zinx is just annoying, and that's it. She's not a threat at all. Sure, if you stand in her puddle of goop for the whole duration and she hits you with it, you're going to take, a little bit of damage. But why are you standing in the puddle of goop? You can take a step to the side and you're out of it. I don't know. I think Zinx is very lacking at the moment. But if you've watched my original thoughts on Zinx, they have not changed. Kind of the same with Wraith, I guess, really. But I like the idea behind her. The whole range tank thing seems odd, but I like the idea of, your mana and your health bar kind of work together. That's a really cool idea, and I think there's just too many things working against her. There's too many cards that just completely cancel her out, which, I actually talked about in the 1,000 sub video. But you've got cards like Riot Zapper, which, that actually does quite a bit of damage to Zinx. And then you've got cards like Plague Lord that really, really hurt her. And then you've got a hero that named Decker that just completely cancels her out 100%. So, I think she's just got a lot of things working against her, and I don't think she'll ever be a top player. I don't think she'll ever be a top tier hero, just because the way she's set up. She's got so many things working against her that it's so easy to counter Zinx even without a Decker. And, sure, not everybody might have that kit on, but a lot of people run Plague Lord, because Plague Lord is a great card to counter a lot of people. But it really hurt Zinx. So, that's kind of just my thoughts on her. I think she's just got a little too much working against her. Now, again, our gadget just got back. It's 11 minutes in, so she's a little bit behind on farm, and Faye will absolutely be able to bully her. So I'm gonna rotate as much as I can to help him out, and hopefully, we can avoid some deaths there. Everybody is going to be more fed than our caster, which it's very important for a caster to get fed. They need to be along the same lines as the ADC, but with the ADC, it's all about, farm. With the caster, it's all about farm and player level. So hopefully we can get there, but right now, we're just still kind of playing the laning game. Now, I'm going to really put some pressure on this tower. At this point, I'm getting pretty high up there. I've got my growth totem on, I've got my invader mage, so I'm hitting a little bit harder, and, I've got some pretty solid sustain, and, I'm just able to really bully this lane, and I'm hoping by keeping this pressure up that the enemy team will be forced to rotate, so my gadget's got less pressure. And you can see she's got, a couple of people in her lane right now. So that's really what I was just hoping with that, is just to kind of keep that pressure up. I did end up giving this tower away, but I really was kind of trying to help mid lane. But at the same time, I said, hey, I need to give this tower away. That way, hopefully I can set this lane way in the back and then rotate or something like that. I've now got the option to, and we've also got the option to let Gadget come into my lane, farm my lane, and I'll go try to mid lane, which we kind of try that out a little bit, but, I just wanted to get a few options. Now, Shinbi does head over, and she does have green buff. She's able to take my mana, but you can see I'm Zinx. I've got tons and tons of health, sustain with my kit. Now, I missed my stun, and, that's unfortunate, but we are able to take out Murdoch. That was a great rotation by our Richter, a great rotation by our gadget, and this is where I kind of say, hey, why don't you farm my lane, I'll go to your lane, you try to catch up on farm, and, so that's exactly what we do. Now, from here, again, we're just going to head to mid lane, kind of get some progress on this, push it back. Their Faye is about the same level as me. That's just the power of Font of Experience. And you see Richter, he heads over, he's going to get this pull. Man, there's nothing more satisfying than Richter actually landing a pull. And we're able to take that Faye out. After his pull, you saw I instantly stunned her. And the reason I don't want to wait to stun her, the reason I want to stun her as quickly as possible, but I want to wait for the pull stun to completely wear off, is simply because if she starts moving around, it's going to be very difficult to land that stun. And the further away she gets, the harder that stun is to land. Without any solid targets like a minion, a stationary minion, landing that stun can be a little bit difficult. You see, I always run really close to the enemy whenever I try to use my stun, just because, that stun, it's not that it's unpredictable, but it's that it can be hard to land because, it is pretty slow moving, and it's a fairly small target. So, just stand right next to him, hit him with it. You're going to hit him. But it's definitely better to hit minions with it, and, that kind of ranks it up. Now, Richter gets another pull onto that Faye, but, that Decker cage was actually blocking our damage, so we weren't able to take it out. I go ahead and actually, body block for this Richter, and luckily I did. That Decker bomb probably would have killed him there. So, body blocking is one thing that everybody, you have to do. You can body block. Even ADCs can body block. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. And, since I am kind of a tanky hero and Richter's a tanky hero, there's no reason to not body block for him to make sure he safely gets out. Now, from here, we're just kind of doing that standard laning stuff. Seraph shows up, and our Richter actually heads over. But one thing about our Richter is he is in the Discord chat, but we are not actually in comms. He doesn't have a mic. So I was not really ready for that rotation on Faye. If I would have been, we would have got that kill. You know, if I could have got that stun off, or even just hit her one time. You know, she got away with like 6 health, so we would have been able to take her out. But you know, unfortunately, we didn't. Now their Decker is fairly low and out of mana. So is their Serve. So we should be able to actually make something happen here if we get a little bit of a rotation. We are able to take down a tower there, and you know that's great. We finally got that safe lane tower, which is what we really needed. You know, we were kind of lacking on it. Downing that safe lane T1 is just absolutely huge. This allows, you know, our Narbash and our Revenant to start rotating. You know, it allows them to just really leave that lane. They can still freeze it, do things like that, but you know, it allows them the freedom to actually rotate, and that's absolutely huge, guys. And so, if you are an ADC support, kind of in that situation, the only hero I would say that the team has to be prepared for you to not down the tower within the first 10 minutes or so is an Iggy. Dealing with an Iggy in the off lane is absolutely terrible. But other than that, or, you know, in the safe lane, but other than that, if you are in that support ADC role, you should really push to get that tower down within at least the first 10 minutes, because downing that tower is absolutely huge for your team. Now, before I kind of explain what happened, our gadget is not in comms with us anymore. You know, she had I guess a big crash, so she's no longer in comms with us. And so we kind of don't really know what's going on. So she wasn't able to call out that, hey, enemies are missing. And so when Murdoch and Decker showed over, you know, they just absolutely destroyed our Narbash. And, you know, that's very unfortunate. But our gadget was able to head over. And she is able to zone out, you know, which that was a great use of her kit right there. You know, using that zone to create that danger area and make the enemies back off. You know, I am very low on mana. I'm very, you know, I'm still very healthy, but without mana, you know, I'm just completely useless. Now, Shimby does show up, and you know, in my opinion, that was probably not the wisest choice of, you know, we just did a ton of damage to her. Now, our Revenant is bloodthirsty, and he's chasing, and I'm saying, hey, man, we gotta get out. We can't do this. Like, we need to reset everything, you know. We just got our, you know, butts kicked a little bit like that. So everybody get back, refresh, you know, quit chasing, all that good stuff. And luckily everybody, you know, survived that except that initial Narbash death. And we really saved all the damage off of the tower. So, you know, all in all, we turned a bad situation. We kind of turned it around. But having 2 heroes on your team, you know, unable to communicate, or, you know, besides the pinging system, is absolutely huge. And especially if you're in a 5-stack expecting that communication and you're not getting it. And you can see in that situation, you know, again, we did turn a bad situation. We did turn it around. But, you know, I think that Narbash death could have been avoided by saying, hey, enemy's missing. But is what it is. Again, we're still making very solid plays. We don't have our mid lane tier 1, which is pretty big, but hopefully we can get some forward progress. We're doing very bad on the tower game, but that has a lot to do with that DC that we did have. Now, I did get stuck with Gadget's Bomb. You saw I walked real close to the enemy Seraph to make sure she took that damage. I just kind of helped Gadget with that lane. Enemies backed off, and then I've got to head back to that off lane and, you know, make sure that the wave is pushing in the right direction. Now, the enemy Murdoch is overextended right now without a support, and you can see our Richter just takes full advantage of that. I do miss that stun, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. That stun is a little bit difficult to miss, and I don't know if I missed it or I was just out of range. It might have been a little bit of both, but we missed the stun, no problem. We still wrapped up the kill, you know, and we wouldn't have been able to get that kill if Murdoch would have stayed in a better position. I really like to say that the river is kind of the turnaround point. Once you get fully fed and you're not scared of anybody, hey, you might think about doing it, but the ADC is really all about positioning. And it's best just to think of the river as a turnaround point. If you can look at your map and go, hey, there's not a whole lot going on right now, go ahead and slow farm your lane instead of pushing it past the river. That's a better option, and you might be able to get 2 to 3 waves of farm out of it instead of just getting one safe wave, and then your second wave is, a little bit overextended, and then your third wave is at the enemy's tower. That's not near as good as just, freezing the lane. So, hopefully we can learn from this, guys. I am planning on doing an updated version of, improving your carry, because that wasn't requested. So we'll kind of talk about that a little more then. But definitely, think of the river as a turnaround point. If you're by yourself, turn around at the river, guys. Now from here, it's pretty standard stuff again. I'm going to push the lane. You can see the enemies turned around. Our gadget did head over to try to help out, but, she was a little bit too far up. The enemies retreated a little bit too fast for us to make that a play. No problem at all. I'm going to just keep putting this pressure up. I'm going to keep hitting this Murdoch. I do have that Withering Shadow on now, and you can see I'm just destroying these waves. And with that Withering Shadow paired with Kitty Claws, we're getting good chunks of damage onto Murdoch. I am able to poke this tower down. Now, Zinx is not really a damage-heavy hero. Melee heroes hit a lot harder than ranged heroes, for the most part. And, I'm not doing just a crazy ton of damage to this tower, so it's taking me a very long time to, actually down it. And with our DC putting us back in that, with the lanes and things like that, it's been very difficult to actually have a rotation to help deal with this tower. But we should be able to down it pretty quickly. I do have great mana sustain and, health sustain as well. So I'm going to be able to just keep up insane amount of pressure here, as well as, actually get damage onto the enemies. Even if they have healing towers, we should be able to keep solid damage up. And sure enough, we are able to down this tower. And from here, I go ahead and grab gold and get out. Now from here, I'm going to just shove this lane. I'm going to clear these waves and just shove this lane. You can see their Murdoch actually back there. I'm going to head to mid. I'm telling my team, hey, y'all go for Raptors. Let's take an objective. Let's do something, because they're going to deal with that pressure. And then I turn around, head back to my lane. And, pushing that wave like that was to just make sure that we didn't have any massive team rotation, because, that Decker was missing and that Murdoch was missing. And I wanted to make sure that they came back to that off lane, or, their safe lane. I wanted to make sure that they came back there so they didn't surprise my teammates elsewhere. And that is really what keeping the pressure up is, guys. If you force the enemy to rotate to actually deal with you, you're keeping up that pressure, so, the team is really forced to do, one thing. Now, I was kind of going, hey, what is this Seraph going to do? I've got my stun out, ready to stun her. Sure enough, we're able to stun her, but I do have to head back to my lane because, hey, it's going to be pushed pretty hard. Their Murdoch should be getting fairly fed at this moment. And if I, spend too much time elsewhere, we're going to end up losing towers for that. Now, Gadget, she actually heads over that way, and I'm going to head down mid. And I say, okay, I can push mid, and I see, hey, they've got Faye in middle. I'm not going to worry about Faye. I'm just going to push that lane, and then I'm actually going to head to that off lane as well and really help out with Gadget. Now, just like my Wraith carry video, our Gadget makes a fatal error here. She goes in behind the enemy team. Instead of going into the minion wave from the tower, she goes in behind the wave and she gets erased, which, that's unfortunate. But guys, we really got to work on that. As a squishy hero, as a burst caster, you don't want to put yourself in danger, for one thing, they have the huge minion advantage, so you can't even attack them. And another thing is, it's a 2v1. 95% of heroes cannot win 2v1 fights, especially when one of the two heroes has a hard CC. So from now on, guys, we definitely have to reposition ourselves to go around and come in from our side, come in from the tower side of the minions, not the enemy tower side, or, not the enemy side of the minions. Now, from here, I'm going to head to the safe lane. I saw there was a Shimby and a Seraph in our safe lane, so I'm going to head over there, make sure everything's good with that. Richter is kind of hanging out. I think he was going, hey, we might be able to get a gank, but, he's got to secure the green buff, and by the time I head over there, they're gone. Now, I'm going to set this lane, and again, I definitely want to show this off. What you do here is you take out the ranged minions, and you can do a little poke on the melee minions, but leave them alive. Your lane will naturally push against the enemy lane, and that way when your lane actually makes it to a tower, it's a massive wave, and we're actually going to see that here in mid lane. Now, Narbash was hitting the minions, and I was able to tell him, hey man, let's just set this lane, let's get out. But when you set a lane, you see this massive wave that's coming. This is the kind of thing that the enemy has to deal with. And although it is not the hardest thing to deal with, especially with Zinx, I can tank all this damage. But the thing is, if you've got 2 or 3 siege minions in that wave, and you actually do get under tower, you're going to be able to get a huge chunk of damage onto that tower without the enemy being able to even stop it. After we wrapped up that Shimby kill, it's time to go for Prime. Now, I go ahead and ping it since our gadget isn't in comms, but we take out Prime, we make pretty short work of it, and I've got to head to our off lane. Gadget went to our safe lane, so, hey, I'm going to leave that. You can see we do have some lanes pushing. We're not getting these lanes set and pushing properly, but that's quite all right. We've got a good presence in mid, and this is absolutely amazing. I'm able to really push that Murdoch and that Decker out of lane, and they do have a little bit of a rotation with that Seraph, but hey, that really is no problem. Now, Gadget does show up, and she's able to stick that Seraph, and, she gets that slowdown. We're able to really put some poke on her, which, we're not going to be able to kill this Seraph, but just being able to keep these heroes from backing, that Murdoch was trying to lazy back right there, and I'm just going to keep chasing him. Why not? I'm just going to keep chasing them. I've got that Withering Shadow on, so I am doing damage to them. The enemy lane is pushing against us. We have Prime, so, we're healing up fairly nicely, and this is just going to allow us to just keep pushing. We stop their carry from backing, or we stop one of their carries from backing. We stop this Seraph from backing. This was great all around. We're able to just really push this Sparrow, or push that Seraph out of lane. Richter ends up grabbing that kill. We got that mid inhib. We end up taking that tier 2 on off lane. We end up actually taking this this off lane inhib as well. We completely turned this fight around with that Prime play, even though both the lanes were being pushed. Now, Shimby is in our safe lane, and, she's pushing it pretty good, but I'm saying, hey guys, one person go deal with it, everybody else, let's push this. We might be able to end here. We've got our entire team here. Their Seraph's down. We've got a huge minion wave. We've got Prime. We might be able to make something happen. Decker, she gets away with half a health again. And then Murdoch's pretty low as well. He's under tower. We're not going to be able to take him out. Now, again, we should be going in on this Prime instead of dealing with them, and that Decker Cage kept us from really being able to hit that Prime, or hit the core, but no problem at all. Now, Prime is off, and I'm out of mana. I'm very low on health. I gotta get out. Richter is going to be able to deal with that Shimby, and you can see I've left this Withering Shadow on this entire time. Sure, it's done a little bit of damage, and it's done a little bit of mana. You know, my mana regen's not quite as good, but with the amount of damage I'm cranking out with it, it is well worth it. Now, I see the enemy Shimby in our jungle say, hey, you know, I'm going to take her out. And, you know, I've got a little bit of mana back. I'm able to actually get some good damage on her, and sure enough, we get her, take her out, and, you know, I do my little victory dance. Now, from here, we're just going to, you know, push this safe lane, and, you know, I'm not trying to down a tower at the moment. I still need to heal up. It's just, hey, let's push this lane. If they're going to let us take the tower, great. But if not, let's get out. You know, they're going to have to deal with our other, you know, lanes. They're naturally set all the time now. Seraph gets caught out just a little bit, and we're going to rotate on her. Now, this engagement is one that, you know, my team was kind of backing off of. They were saying, hey, let's not go for this, and this is the time to go for kills, guys. We've got both of our lanes naturally set, and they're pushed, you know, pretty well. We've got the only lane that doesn't have an inhib on it, or that still has an inhib on it. We've got it pushed pretty far as well, and they've actually got a teammate over there, so it's a 5v4 fight here in mid. You know, all of us are fairly healthy. This is the time to go in and get kills, and you know, we cannot shy away from this. We all need to engage, and you see, with all of us engaging, them missing out on a hero, we're able to absolutely dominate, and this is what really ends the match for us. Well, that's going to wrap it up, guys. This is a very solid deck for Zinx, so if you're thinking about playing her, you know, Withering Shadow is just absolutely, in my opinion, it's really the only way you can successfully build her. But, you know, if you have other opinions, or if you know another way, let me know so I can, you know, spread the word and try it out. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and if you did enjoy this video, show me some love. Leave me a comment, think about subscribing, join our Discord if you haven't done it so. You know, I'd love to play with more of y'all, and, you know, who knows, we might be able to get 2 teams of 10, you know, 2 teams of 10 or something like that. That'd be great. But, again, thanks for playing, guys, and as always, I'll see y'all in the next video.